All right, if you followed me in the chat, I already announced that the government is going to reopen the final vote 222 to 209. The everything is this was an example of just about everything wrong with Congress. First of all, the vote was supposed to take place or the voting was supposed to start to happen at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what the delay was. I was kind of hoping that when I originally scheduled this, that I would already have the results and we could talk about it. But I just pushed this back to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time so that I could watch it live. It's a little bit of a drama. Then the time expired for the votes, but votes were still coming in. Like the final vote wasn't even to like 10 or 12 minutes, I think, after the voting was supposed to have, like, time was up. I'm watching, live the feed, and it shows zero time, time remaining a minute and a half, 90 seconds, 88 seconds, 72 seconds, 32 seconds, 000, and votes are still coming in. Oh, I know it's a delay or what have you. No, there were like people still running around going like this, and the measure already passed, and there were some people who probably just waited to see how the vote was going to go and then voted at the last minute. But the point is, votes were coming in after the deadline to have the votes in. A bunch of idiots and dumbasses in the halls of Congress. I'm not just talking about the jackasses in the Democrat Party. Welcome to the show, folks. I am James, the original BCP. I am a based conservative patriarch. Welcome to the show. We knew that this was looking good when the House voted in their procedural vote to get to the general vote, 216 to 213. It was a slim margin, but that was a sign that it was going to pass. It's on its way to President Trump's desk right now, who will probably have signed it probably a little while after I finish this live stream. So that was that's the latest news, breaking news as of just a few moments ago. The House has voted to end the record long 43-day, I guess it might be 44 days, well, 43 days, I guess, government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. The House of Representatives is adjourned, and they will not meet again until 9 a.m. tomorrow, so they can go have their cocaine orgies or whatever else these deviant people in D.C. do. So great to see you here, folks. Let's smile. I got some good news, some frustrating news, but I got some good news, folks. Arrests are happening. Things are happening. We're going to talk about an arrest that happened within the major Democrat circle of someone hoping to win the nomination for the Democrat Party in 2028. We're going to talk about James Comey and the most ridiculous thing he and his people just did. Folks, James Comey's going to jail. Fairly confident James Comey is going to jail. I'm going to break that down. We got some new stuff on Eric Swalwell, and we have got some discovery documents from a case going back to the weaponization of the government against President Trump that shows us what we've already known. It's in the discovery. It is now on record and has been verified by the other side as being authentic. Folks, dead to rights that there was criminality in going after President Trump a few years ago when he dared question the official results from 5 years ago. A lot of good stuff, folks. But let me give you, before we get into that, let me time myself. I want to spend a few minutes and bring you up to speed on the latest. Now, this is a moot point now, but the Supreme Court had actually extended the order blocking full SNAP payments until tomorrow, 11:59 p.m. So they knew, like I reported days ago, that this shutdown would end today, and they extended the order blocking SNAP benefit payments until tomorrow. Well, obviously, once President Trump signs it, they're going to go ahead and release those SNAP payments. And it's interesting here is that 8 of the 9 justices actually voted for the extension. Only liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented. There was no opinion. Only she dissented, which is very interesting because she was the one that actually put a stopping on the blocking of full SNAP payments to allow the lower courts, the appellate court, to look at it, and then they decided that, yes, President Trump should be forced to pay something that isn't fully funded. So these people aren't even consistent when it comes to the leftists. So as we're talking about the Supreme Court, and I'm bringing you the up-to-date news, President Trump is asking the Supreme Court to overturn the absolutely ridiculous, bogus, BS Jean Carrol verdict. President Trump is petitioning the Supreme Court to overturn the ruling. He appealed the dumb ruling and is asking SCOTUS to throw out the entire thing, the entire verdict. This is what CNN is reporting. The reason why he's doing this is quite interesting. And basically, he has a case based on the fact that, quote, there were, and this is CNN, there were no eyewitnesses. Okay. There were no video evidence. Okay. There was no police report or investigation of the crime. This is what President Trump is saying in his appeal. Instead, Carrol waited more than 20 years to falsely accuse Donald Trump, who she politically opposes, until after he became the 45th president, when she could maximize political injury to him and profit for herself. Now, this has not been formally docketed at the Supreme Court, and whether they'll take up the case is yet to be seen, but hopefully they will, and they will reverse this. President Trump asking the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse the ruling that found him liable for sexually abusing Jean Carrol. Now, if they do that and they overturn it, that would be another huge blow to the left and the media, leftist media Marxist complex. Now, more importantly, or more decisively, the Supreme Court is set to decide if, in fact, President Trump can control riots against ICE facilities by using the National Guard. Now, those of people that know history will say this seems pretty ridiculous because there has been tons of precedent for this, right? Let me go through this. In 1970, the New York postal strike resulted in Executive Order 11519. They called up over 28,000 total active and reserve National Guard. Okay. And more than 1,000 troops delivered mail in New York City's financial district. And the rest kept strikers from interfering with delivery. So they actually did the job of the Postal Service. In 1989, during Hurricane Hugo on the Virgin Islands, they sent National Guard because not only was the U.S. Virgin Islands devastated, but there was looting in the wake of Hurricane Hugo. That was allowed. Let's see. We also had, we can go back to the 60s. There's precedent for this. There's precedent for this. But they're arguing that President Trump can't do it because what he's doing, and check out this mental legal loopholes and jumps they're going through. They are saying that President Trump has not asked the National Guard to stop riots, but to protect the facilities. Folks, they are arguing, the other side is trying to say that President Trump is doing this, but that he's trying to do law enforcement because he is sending in the National Guard to protect the ICE facilities. And therefore, that is a function of the police, of the local police. And therefore, President Trump should not be able to do that because he is overriding what Chicago law enforcement would otherwise do. But Chicago law enforcement doesn't want to do it. And they're forbidden from doing it. Yet, during the postal strike, they were able to go in and do the job of the post office. The difference is, of course, postal falling under a federal job, not a state or local one. But the good news is that the Supreme Court is set to decide and make a ruling on this. In fact, if President Trump can control riots against ICE facilities by using the National Guard. Speaking of which, President Trump let us know via Truth Social, quote, "I am proud to announce that Chicago, Illinois, despite all the radical opposition and obstruction we have from the mayor and the governor, has seen car thefts, shootings, robberies, violent crime." Man, what a list. What a list of crimes that are generally well supported by the powers that be in Chicago. President Trump goes on to say, once again, car theft, shootings, robberies, violent crime, and everything else dropped dramatically since the launch of the DHS operation, quote, Midway Blitz. That's what it's called in Chicago only weeks ago. Shootings are down 35%, robberies are down 41%, and carjackings down almost 50%. And this is with just a small initial federal force, not the full surge like the one they did in Memphis. As we ramp up more assets, these numbers will continue to drop. This has been achieved despite the extraordinary resistance from Chicago and Illinois radical Democrat leadership and the constant violent left-wing terrorism against ICE officers and federal agents that insurrectionist Democrat officials refuse to stop or prosecute, including constant physical assault and attempted assassination. Now, this, of course, was verified. We have more numbers from DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin. They said they had these numbers out. She said, "We aren't leaving Chicago. Since the start of Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, homicides are down 16%, shootings down 35%, robberies down 41%, transit crime down 20%, and the carjackings down 48%. Ooh, President Trump over-exaggerated, saying almost 50%. Well, he didn't exaggerate. He just rounded up and used the word almost. So what do the Democrats and their operatives do with this absolutely fantastic news that crime is under control? They roll out their tyrants in black robes to thwart all of this. Can't make this up, folks. If I reported on this a few hours ago, it was that the judge, U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings, was going to rule, because he had said he was going to rule on this. But now, as of today, Wednesday, November 12th, 4:58 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so about 42 minutes ago for us, hundreds detained by immigration agents in Midway Blitz to be released after judge's order. A federal judge has ordered the release of hundreds of migrants arrested in the Chicago area, including some arrested under the Department of Homeland Security's Operation Midway Blitz by November 21st. Why? Because he found their arrest violated a local 2022 consent decree. U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings. Oh, you're asking me, who is he? Who put him on the bench? Well, it should come as no surprise that this black robe tyrant, and I'm not saying that because he's a black man, I'm saying that because he wears a black robe as a district judge, is a Biden appointee. And he has issued what is called equitable relief. Equitable relief. Absolutely crazy. U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings sided with attorneys for the American Civil Liberties Union. They should just change their name to the Shilling for Illegal Aliens and Marxist Democrat Union, and the NIJC, the National Immigration Justice Center, representing detainees who said DHS violated a consent decree that limits the ability of federal agents to conduct warrantless arrests. That is specific to the Chicago. This is absolute nuttery, folks. So this is what it looks like. Cummings ordered 13 people to be released by Friday at noon, and another 615 people will be released into alternatives to detention. So that means, they got to have ankle bracelets, the ankle monitors, or other electronic monitoring. Or they can just check in on an app or a website. These tyrants should be rounded up and arrested. Oh, that would be too drastic. Well, how about a less drastic but totally legal, non-loophole way of dealing with this that the do-nothing Republicans will never do because they lack the, Mom, close your ears. Mom, I know you're listening to this, close your ears. They lack the cojones to do it. They lack the brass pair to get shizzle done. Mom, you can open your ears again. If 300 of you would hit the like button, that would be peachy keen. That would be the bee's knees. That would be a beautiful thing. It'll just let more people get notifications that we're having this live stream. So what would the left do without these Biden and Obama and sometimes Clinton tyrants in black robes doing their bidding, doing what they're supposed to do. All right, folks, let's get into the meat of what I want to talk about. Arrests are happening. Now, I'm going to mention the name of someone arrested. You're like, BCP, come on, James. We don't know that person. But the devil's in the details. And I'm going to give you the details so you can see why this is good and important. This is good and important. And it's this. The FBI has arrested Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff. Now, is this against Gavin Newsom? Folks, this is a trend that we are seeing, which is why I'm optimistic. And here's the trend. Kash Patel's FBI and Pam Bondi's DOJ and the various U.S. attorneys are taking on cases that predate President Trump coming into office on January 20th. That is a beautiful thing, folks. That means when, and this is brilliance. Okay, I might be a little hyperbolic here. It's hyperbole to say it's brilliance. Let's just say it's a very smart move. A very, very smart move for Pam Bondi's DOJ and Kash Patel's FBI. And of course, the FBI is under the DOJ. To go after these treasonous, traitorous, rat bastards, bad actors, and crooks and criminals by reopening or continuing investigations and cases that predate President Trump's return to office. Why? Because it stands up against the scrutiny of, oh, this is just retribution. This is just selectively going after President Trump's political rivals. Of course, Biden and his people did it. You'd have to be a total a-hole, idiot, blind, or a partisan not to see it. Once again, Mom, pardon me, français. Very smart move that these cases predate President Trump coming in. Because when the Democrats and the people involved in these cases appeal them and try to get them thrown out, saying this is him going after political opponents, it can say, folks, no, these are cases that investigations that started under Biden's administration. We're just finishing what they started. I think this is very, very smart. And let's see how this plays into here. Now, of course, everyone's proven is innocent until proven guilty, but the charges are quite a few. Quote, conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud, conspiracy to commit it, also charges for actual bank fraud, also charges for actual wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States and obstruct justice, subscribing to false tax returns, and making false statements. This is all happening to California Governor Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff, who has been arrested. Oh, she was arrested for conspiracy to commit these crimes. Her name is Adana Williamson. She's a big gal. She looks like one of those angry Democrats. Big gal. Hope she looks like Dana Williamson, the former chief of staff to Gavin Newsom, who was arrested. Didn't use the money to buy Ozempic or Wegovy. Looks like she just used that to straight up buy Cheetos. She's a big girl. And as a recovering fat man myself, who goes to the gym just about every single day, I can body shame. I can fat shame. Of course, I'm just joking, folks. Just joking. This is good, folks. This is good. Let me read you part of the indictment. Today's charges are the result of 3 years of relentless investigative work in partnership with IRS Criminal Investigations and the U.S. Attorney's Office, said FBI Sacramento Special Agent in Charge, Sid Patel. The FBI will remain vigilant in its efforts to uncover fraud and corruption, ensuring our government systems are held to the highest standards. Folks, this has to do with fraud, having to do with PPP, Payment Protection Plan bailouts during President Trump. But once again, this started under Biden. That is the big thing here. According to court documents, between February 2022 and February 2024, Williamson conspired with others to divert $225,000 in funds from a dormant political campaign to an associate's personal use, Collectively, they funneled money through various business entities and disguised it as pay for what was in reality a no-show job. They also ripped us off. I read another article. So, the combine of all this stuff. Let's look. If convicted, she looks at 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine for each count of bank fraud and wire fraud and conspiracy. So looking at over $1 million, $750,000 to over $1 million, plus $100,000 for each fine of her false tax returns. Couldn't happen to a better person. Now, arrests are happening. Once again, I don't know who Dana Williamson is. James, you're over-exaggerating this. Folks, let me remind you. Why am I mentioning this, folks? Once again, let me connect the dots for you. Let me connect the dots. This is another dot. This is another point on the graph that I brought up yesterday when I reported on the Clinton corruption files. I know, folks, I'm just like you. I'm not going to believe anything until it happens because it's been business as usual. No one's been arrested yet. I totally get that. No one's been arrested yet. But I'm peeling back what's happening. I'm not giving you false hope. I'm not into hopium. I'm like you. I have less patience than many of you because many of you have been riding my ass, rightfully so, telling me, James, calm down. President Trump just got in office. Give him some time. They're building a solid case. So I am one of the impatient ones. And I, the most impatient one, the based, cranky papa. Yes, I am now a grandfather. I am the number one impatient guy. I'm telling you, things are happening. And they're happening in a smart way. By wrapping up, indicting, charging, and arresting these people based on old investigations that good people wanted to do under Biden, but stopped from doing so. And that is what we saw yesterday. Go back and watch my report from yesterday in the Clinton corruption files that I reported on. Also, these are things that they wanted to do 10 years ago. They wanted to do under Biden, but they were stopped. President Trump's DOJ, Pam Bondi's DOJ, is now doing it. And these are investigations that predate President Trump's return to office. That is one of the big keys here, folks. One of the big keys. Not trying to sell you hopium. I'm just telling you what's actually happening. We've got something that you can't make up here. But first, let me give a shout out to Lisa Mack, the barbecutioner, Danny Stewart, 010101BE. The first ones, along with Bare Brained Adventures, were the first ones to get the party started on the chat. Appreciate y'all being here. Hit the like button. Much love to all of y'all, folks. Much love to all of you. Let's talk James Comey, baby. Let's talk James Comey. You are not going to believe what James Comey and his legal team just did. Folks, you can't make this up. You cannot make up what I am about to report to you. Comey's attorneys doctored transcripts that they submitted in his perjury trial. Jim Comey's attorneys allegedly, let's say allegedly because James Comey is one of those protected folks, doctored transcripts when providing documents in his perjury trial. Let's just go to Paul Sperry, Real Clear Politics. Paul Sperry, one of my favorite journalists in the world. New, in presenting evidence and a motion to the court as part of his perjury defense, James Comey's legal team altered 2 words in a transcript of his 2020 Senate testimony to make it seem as if Senator Ted Cruz asked Comey a key question he didn't actually ask him during the hearing. Now, if you ask if a defendant can alter words in a transcript that he presents as evidence in a trial, no, you cannot do that. James Comey should know that you can't do that. Okay, James Comey isn't doing everything. His legal team is. The legal team for the former FBI director should know that you cannot alter words in a transcript. A transcript is supposed to be just that, a transcript, a transcription of what was said. You can't alter it. And that's what they did. A defendant cannot alter words in a transcript that is presented as evidence in a trial. Transcripts are official records that accurately capture what was said during legal proceedings. Altering them would be considered fraud and could lead to serious legal consequences, including charges of contempt of court or tampering with evidence. No muy bueno for James Comey now, is it? No muy bueno. By the way, folks, I don't take on corporate sponsors. I don't control any ads that you see here on YouTube. YouTube does automatic ad placement, and they determine when you see the ads and what ads you see. I don't have any corporate sponsors. I don't see me saying this, thanks to our sponsors. I don't read any ads. If you want to support my work, the best way to do that and to get something for doing that is going over to bcpextras.com and therealbcp.com and subscribing to my other show, the BCP podcast. The link is down below. You can go to bcpextras.com and watch it on Patreon, or you can go to therealbcp.com and watch it on Locals. It's the same show, just two different places. You can watch it or listen to it, whatever the case may be. You can also support me here on YouTube by hitting the join button. Join the BCP fan club here on YouTube. Gives you early access to my weekend reports. Okay. Now back to our regularly scheduled report. Paul Sperry, in a follow-up to that, said, laugh out loud. James Comey's high-priced legal team just cited a movie to support the argument Trump didn't have to directly instruct Halligan to indict Comey. Quote, a ruler need not take the form of literal instructions. That's from Beckett, a 1964 film. Will no one rid me of this meddlesome priest? Wow. Comey, also Comey and his friends are claiming they did nothing wrong. Folks, I'm telling you, James Comey is going to jail. James Comey is going to jail. This is going to be the big fish to fry. They've got him dead to rights. And this just shows the desperation. Really altering official transcripts in a perjury case? I mean, it doesn't get crazier than that. Lying in a transcript as a defense for lying under oath. You can't make this shizzle up. You cannot make this shiznit up. Now, James Comey and Dan Rickman claimed they weren't doing anything wrong when they leaked sensitive information to their New York Times handmaiden, Michael Schmidt. But there's a problem with this that Paul Sperry points out. They both use aliases in their emails and texts to hide it. So they did nothing wrong, yet they were going through all these loops to hide who they really were in doing this, using the aliases Reinhold Niebuhr and that was Comey, and Richmond posing as Michael Garcia. Now, of course, one of the arguments that Comey and his legal team are putting forward is that they're claiming vindictive prosecution. Now, that's not going very well for them. To prove vindictive prosecution, Comey's lawyers have to do more than show Trump's posts, right? President Trump can be out there going, they should do this. I think Pam Bondi should do this, right? That's all they're really bringing to the table. They're going through President Trump's Truth Social post and saying, look, but they must show direct evidence that Prosecutor Halligan acted with genuine animus and solely to punish Comey for exercising a protected right. And they failed to overcome that legal barrier so far. By they, I mean James Comey's legal team. Not looking muy bueno. Not looking muy bueno for James Comey. What's my take? His ass is going to jail. Hey, the arrests have started. Dana Williamson may not seem like a big arrest now, folks. But all of these investigations that predate President Trump against the deep state, they're being resurrected. They're being resurrected. Remember, we're hearing that, Lindsey Halligan came in. And as I reported yesterday, they are in panic. The Democrats are in panic because we now know, because of this meeting and these subpoenas that have been signed off by high people within the DOJ and the U.S. Attorney's offices, they are going after the deep state. They are doing it. And many of these deep state cases predate President Trump coming back in. That's one of the ways these indictments, these charges are going to stick. And so far, they're not able to prove that these are vindictive actions. Good stuff here, folks. Let's get into the latest on Eric Swalwell, congressman. And, this sure smells and sounds like another Democrat politician from California, former Congressman, now Senator Adam Schiff. Congressman Eric Swalwell has named his Washington, D.C. home as a principal residence, and he has no California address. Why is that an issue? Because he is a congressman representing Livermore, California, yet he doesn't live there. And he's saying his Washington, D.C. home is his principal residence. Joel Gilbert reporting, California Representative Eric Swalwell has faced a barrage of controversy in recent years, from his alleged ties to the Chinese spy Fang Fang Bang Bang to his removal from the House Intelligence Committee over national security concerns, and of course to his big old fart on air with Chris Matthews. That was back in 2019. We can forgive that one. Flatulence is something that happens to all of us, and in some cultures, it's not even an insult. But now this new revelation raises even more serious questions about Swalwell's integrity and eligibility to even serve in Congress. Despite serving as a congressman from California's 15th district and claiming his hometown to be Livermore on his official House profile, Swalwell has declared his Washington, D.C. property as his primary residence. The public deed of trust for his home on South Street Northeast, dated April 18, 2022, confirms the property is designated as his primary residence, as his principal residence, as a condition of the loan, which means that, quote, borrower shall be in default if borrower gave materially false, misleading, or inaccurate information or statements to the lender. Material representations include borrower's occupancy of the property as borrower's principal residence. How is he a congressman from California, yet he doesn't have a residence in California and his only primary residence? They searched far and wide for any address, even a rental address for Eric Swalwell in California, and they haven't found one. California Elections Code 349 says a domicile is defined as a place in which his or her habitation is fixed and the place where a person intends to return and remain. Okay, yet there is nothing. The only address associated with him in Livermore is a 3-bedroom, 1,350 square foot home that belongs to a Merskawa family, and they have lived there continuously since 2008. Let me repeat that to you. Since 2008, another family has claimed continuous dwelling. This is their dwelling. The family who has lived there continuously since 2008, the address is the one that's associated with Eric Swalwell. How can that be his primary residence, but also be the primary residence of another family, yet he has a primary residence in his home in D.C.? So let's see what happens, if anything. But not looking good for Eric Swalwell. And folks, if they get Adam Schiff, and when they get Letitia James, they're going to go after Swalwell with this one. Now I want to end with this last story. It's got a little bit of detail here, so let me give you the background. Remember Christina Bobb? She's on Lindell TV, so you might catch her on there. She used to be on One America, OAN, One America News. She was a former Trump attorney and a GOP attorney, and she dropped a bomb here within the last 48 hours. And it's related to the criminal acts against her. Okay, so remember, they went after her for representing President Trump and questioning what happened 5 years ago. Now, check this out. Quote, through an inadvertent disclosure in the discovery she was receiving, Bob uncovered that Arizona's Attorney General Chris May's campaign received $200,000, not $2,000, $200,000 from a group with a different name that happens to share the same address, president, executive director, and leadership team as the Elias and Eisen group. Folks, Chris Mays was going after her and President Trump and all of these alternate electors and everything having to do with 2020, and they were being paid by Hillary Clinton's people. In other words, because this money came after the election, Mays allegedly may have been paid to actually prosecute Trump supporters. And what's weird about this? Well, Norm Eisen was Obama's ethics czar. These people are so evil. They are so satanic, demonic, and devilish. They literally give themselves titles to the exact opposite of what they're doing. Norm Eisen was Obama's ethics czar. And after the election of Chris Mays, his company has been paying essentially them to go after President Trump's people. Mark Elias, of course, was Hillary's CFO in her failed campaign for president. Wow. Wow. Now, Bob was criminally indicted in Arizona after the 2020 contest. This was one of many efforts to harass, bankrupt, and imprison Bob and others. But she's fighting back. And let's not forget, Eisen has been on record saying that his life work is to take down President Trump and anyone associated with him, using lawfare in any means possible. Christina Bobb, and kudos to Judicial Watch, they dropped this whistleblower memo on the deep state, letting us know that Hillary Clinton's people paid the Attorney General of of Arizona to go after her. And this is not hearsay. This is not hearsay. This has been verified by the other side. Okay, so this is a memo from Christina Bobb. The indictment has been remanded, and the court ruled that the prosecutor substantially infringed on my and my co-defendants' constitutional rights. The prosecutors have not reconstituted the grand jury, but are appealing the ruling. The court also made a prima facie finding that the case was brought for political reasons. The government is appealing that finding as well. The court's ruling confirms that this case was brought for motivations other than criminal justice. Okay, so they, through an email, found that the Democrat Attorney General's Association is under prosecutorial influence. Through one of their initiatives, they're taking money from this organization called States United Democracy Center, and they use those funds to prosecute the political opponents. To be clear, the Democratic Attorney General's Association paid Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays $200,000, and she gave states united prosecution power to prosecute Trump's attorneys, allies, and electors. It turns out that through available tax form 990, the exact same address, president, executive director, and nearly identical leadership team as DAGA were the same as PSLC. They even were getting paid from the same bank account. Wow. We've got these people dead to rights. They should be in jail. It may take some time, folks, but it's going to happen, and it's actually happening right before our eyes. I know we have normalcy bias. I have it as well. Nothing has happened to these treasonous traitors, rat bastards, but I'm peeling back the onion, folks. I'm letting you see things are happening. Arrests are happening. Investigations are happening, and people like Comey are desperate. The truth about traitors, bang, bang, fang, fang, Eric Swalwell, is coming out, and the shenanigans of Arizona are all coming out, and these are on record, on court record. So, folks, do you share my optimism? Though I'm gonna admit my optimism is cautious. Do you share that with me? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for joining me. Big hug to all of y'all. Until tomorrow, ciao, goodbye. God bless.